everybody. Welcome to another episode of
Nobody Asked Us with
Des and Kara,
presented by Brooks.
That is the saddest thing that's ever happened.
We both regret that so much already.
Yeah, for sure. That's okay.
It's all right.
Welcome to Boston. You excited to be here?
I am excited to be here. Yeah.
Feel like you're kind of like back home. Is it homecoming of sorts or?
No. People don't remember that I ran here. Do you guys remember I ran here once?
Absolutely.
No, it's fun though. It's fun to be on this side of it and to, be in a different way.
What are the weekend obligations? Give us a little schedule of what you got going on, where people can see you.
I came in yesterday and got to run with some high school kids for a future run with Brooks, which was awesome. Today, I got to watch you at the press conference and awkwardly ask you questions at your little booth. Actually, I didn't. I was like, I'll just talk to you later. And then tonight we're doing this. Tomorrow I'm running the 5K. Running, not racing, running.
Time goals? You don't have to put them out there.
I'm embarrassed to tell my time goal. I want to break 23 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, which is like so sad because last year I was trying to break my son's time, but I've taken a few steps back in fitness.
Well, and moving target, like you can't just chase Colt anymore.
No, it's over, guys. It's really depressing, but sadly he's better than me now. So doing that, and then Sunday I'll be at the Brooks Hype House to do a panel with Dot and Alafine, which will be fun, and then calling the broadcast or the race for the World Feed broadcast. No one here will be able to watch
Where would one find the World Feed?
I don't know. You have to be in another country that speaks English.
So get a VPN.
Yeah.
There's some hacks there.
Yeah. It's a big week, but let's talk about you.
Okay. What
you have a big week. You came in yesterday.
I did.
Did you do anything or did you just go to the hotel? Okay, there's a story there.
There's a story here. You actually cut me a check yesterday that I've been waiting on a little bit, and I was so happy because I had already... This is so pathetic, but I remember last year when I didn't buy anything, and I was very good. It was very good. So I bought this like obnoxious Louis Vuitton sweater.
Did you buy that with the check I gave you?
And I already spent it, and I was like, oh, sweet, the check's here. Now I feel less bad, and I don't have to tell Ryan about this. He doesn't listen to the pod. So I was like trying to be all like super like just discreet about it. It was like right across the street. I walk in, I get it, try it on. I'm like, sweet, let's go. He's like, can I put it in a garment bag? I'm like, no, that's obnoxiously large. I'm like, just like a box is fine. And he gives it to me, Kara. It's like this big. And I'm like... But nobody saw me. But I just had to tell the story because it was so ridiculous. The box is huge. So that's what I got up to.
We all need to know about Des and Louis Vuitton, okay? Like, back up. There's so many questions here.
Go ahead.
Is this an item that you had been wanting?
Not particular. No, here's the thing. There's a story. There's actually a story here. There's always a story. I wanted a different item, and it was sweet, and I found it, like... on this like secondhand website. I was like, I don't need a new one. Like, this is cool. And then I bought it and I was really happy. And then they never shipped it. And I was like, oh, I got a refund. Don't worry. But I was like, I kind of had my heart set on it. And then I was like, oh, I wanted that for this trip. And then I started looking and I was like, oh, this one's double the price, but I'll probably get it. So
you knew ahead of time. I've never been in a Louis Vuitton. Like, did you have to show them ID to go in there?
No, I just had to show them my ID to pick up my purchase. But that seems reasonable, right?
This is not fascinating to everyone else.
We need to just take you and you need to buy something.
I don't own anything like that.
Satisfying experience.
I like Nordstrom Rack.
Yeah. I don't know.
Kind of my go-to. Okay, well, anyway, that's awesome.
Anyhow, that's what I did yesterday is my point.
Okay. Wait, was Ryan picking that up when I saw him?
No, he was on another secret mission.
Another secret mission. Okay. We'll get into that maybe next week. Yeah. Okay. So you are a Boston Marathon champion. You come in for the weekend. Everybody wants to meet you. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of things going on. So what else do you have going on? And then how do you shut it down and say, hey, guys, I'm still racing?
It's a great question because it's always a balance. And I feel like for a lot of years, it was like, yes, I'll do it. Yes, I feel this obligation and this sort of like responsibility to do more and be more places and shake more hands and like, not grow the sport, but like take the moment to really celebrate it and be a champion that is available and like willing to like, mix it up and say hi, and like people might get excited to see your meet. And like, that's been a big thing for a couple years. And I feel like this year I've kind of just been like, no. And it's not because you don't want to do all those things. Those are really great. But I do feel like training's gone really well. And I just want to put everything into this one. So
I think that's fair. Plus you got 4 massages.
4 massages in the butt.
I mean, guys, she's so ready.
feeling
Most ready
it.
she's ever been, for real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fair to put some boundaries up.
So yeah, there's been a lot of no's this year. Only my favorite things, this podcast. I'll do.
Obvi.
Of course, yeah. And a Brooks event tomorrow. And then basically the big one was the BAA usually has the asks where you go to the finish line, where you go to this event, where you go, and they were really kind in this year. They were like, will you MC the after party for an hour? So I'll be at mile 27 cracking beers with y'all.
Nice. That's awesome.
On that note, we were kind of going back and forth, like, what are we going to talk about on this pod? What should we do? And our brilliant sound man, editor, good buddy Chris was like, let's ask AI. Let's punch it in and see what they suggest for this podcast. And like, basically all it does is stereotype you. So,
but it's wildly accurate.
No, it's not. You're ruining my story.
So accurate. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
So it goes through and like listens to all the pods, and it's like, oh, Des likes beer. So everything that I say is like, hey, you want to crack a beer in your forehead? Hey, you want to go to Sam Adams and get smashed? I'm like, look, like you can be a runner and also enjoy a beer. And it doesn't mean that you're like obnoxious, but maybe I'm just obnoxious.
I love how it had you come out. It was like, all I want is caffeine and alcohol. Let's go.
Totally.
And I'm like, Des, you need to hydrate. I felt like it was very accurate.
Yeah. I'm like a Monster Energy. It's like raw.
It was really funny and
strange. But I have it on the phone, so there's a few lines that I like made me laugh that I'm gonna read like I'm saying them, but like reading them as well. So they're gonna pop out here and there.
Great, guys. Okay, well, what we really wanted to dive into tonight a little bit more is the course, right? You were just out here again.
How many of you folks are running Boston for the first time? That was a suggested question. Crowd engagement line. How many of you have run it before? Okay. All right. So you guys can chip in and like when we're wrong, let us know.
Yeah. So yeah, we're going to walk through the Boston course, but I have to tell you, when I ran Boston, I don't really remember anything except for turning right on Hereford and left on Boylston, because my whole thing was like, I just have to win. And I didn't take in the sights really. So we'll try to come up with some stories that include me in this one, but Des is a master of this marathon.
You did some course tours and you definitely know the ins and outs of it. And I think once we throw up the map, this visual that we have that AI drew, no, I'm just kidding. That's actually an official one, probably from the Bank of America Boston Marathon. I did that backwards, but that's an official map. So where do you want to start? You want to talk about, this is really early, but like, do you want to talk about just getting on the bus and getting to the start and sort of like what that feels like?
Yes. Well, as you all know, it's race day, right? You wake up, you're excited. For the elites, I don't know if they still do this, but we kind of met in this big room. And then the whole BA kind of like sends you off into these buses and you bus out to the start line. Is that still how it is?
That's still how it is, yeah.
And it's really fun. It's really nerve-wracking because all the work you've done and everything you put into it is about to go down. But you also feel this really incredible support. Like everyone's clapping and cheering for you as you load the buses. So it starts you off on the right tone of like, well, I'm loved. You know, I'm loved. It doesn't matter what happens today, but it's a good way to start the day, I think.
So they had us pegged. AI had us pegged. It was like, Des, insert snarky comment. But I always think of Ryan Hall, so I'll put his snarky comment. But to counter that, Ryan Hall would always say, it sort of feels like you're going to war. Like you load up on the bus and you hug your loved ones for the last time. And they're like, I'll see you on the other side. Like, I don't know. I might not make it.
I felt that way. So Boston was my second marathon when I ran it in 2009, but my first marathon was New York City.
Yeah.
And my coach just assumed that he would come out to the start with me. And they were like, yeah, no, hard stop, no. And I like got on the bus and Adam was watching me. They had gotten me like a blanket because it was supposed to be cold. And the bus pulled away and I was like watching out the window and I was like trying not to cry. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. So I was like much more prepared for Boston. But in New York, they weren't clapping us on the bus. They were like, get on.
Go, hurry up. You know there's going to be
different
traffic.
Vibes, yeah.
Yeah. I think once you're on the bus, you have that like kind of moment to calm down and settle in. I think how many of you guys feel like that bus ride just is so long and you're out and you're on the bus and you're like, I just signed up to I know where they're dropping me off and I've signed up to run all the way back and this doesn't feel like it's penciling out. Did you ever have that feeling?
Oh yeah. The ride seems so long out, right? And especially like you guys have to wait for the buses over by Copley, right? And there's lines there. What? Well,
I don't know.
We didn't because we're elite, but you know. So it's like, it's a whole thing, but the bus ride feels so long.
So what are you doing on the bus to calm the nerves, to kind of like stay chill, like think about the race, get excited, or are you just like zone out, admire the police escort that we elites get?
Love the police escort. I basically would just listen to music and zone out. Like some athletes are really chatty and that's great for them. I wasn't so chatty. You know, I just wanted to be like, get in my own zone and think about what I wanted to do and not get too excited too early because you still have a long time before you actually race.
Are you listening to pump up music or like soothing?
I'm listening to 80s, obviously.
Okay. Jock jams? Do we have jock jams going?
No, obviously.
Okay, I'm just curious.
That's one of the hardest laughs I've ever had with you.
We
were both singing Jock Jams music to each other. I don't know. Anyway, it just popped in my head.
Are you ready for this?
What about you? Are you intense on the bus? I can't remember riding buses with you.
No, I put headphones on. I don't really like chatting with people anyways. I was going to stop there and I was like, no, actually at all. And then like, this is something I've noticed too, is like, I have like, you buy the best noise canceling headphones, right? And like, there's that one voice that is the person that you don't want to hear at all. And it sneaks through and you're like, I need to upgrade. No, they work well.
Instead of a hoodie, you need the nicest headphones you can buy.
You just put the hoodie over and then it's like a
there you go.
So you get to the start. I mean, we should just jump right into gun goes off and obviously you know how to do your warm up, nothing new out there. And then first couple miles, what do you think about it? What do you remember? What are you thinking about on the course when you're out there?
Honestly, the first couple miles, I was just relieved that we were going, right? Like there's been so much hype, so much training, all of the thoughts. And it's just so great to hear that gun and start because it's like, I don't have to worry about anything anymore. Now I'm in the moment and I get to actually run. So I actually really enjoyed the first couple miles. They're kind of downhill. You're warming up a little bit. Yeah, I liked getting off that line. What about you? Straight to the front and push the pace?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, the start, it's pretty critical here, I feel like. And I think people, like, it's that exact feeling where you're so relieved and you're like, this is it. I'm done being nervous. I get to go. And a lot of people can just make a mistake because it is downhill and you feel like, oh, this is my day. I can just tell. It just feels so much easier as you rip down the hills. And you don't quite notice it because you're just excited to be off the line. I do think it's worth mentioning that, like, everyone will talk about how aggressively downhill it is the first 6 miles or so, but you'll have these moments and you'll see those little peaks kind of in there and you're like, man, like I thought this course was all downhill. Like why are we climbing right now? So don't like let that throw you off or think like, oh, maybe I'm not prepared or anything like that. If this is the first time, it's always rolling. It's downhill, but you're always doing something,
It's interesting looking at this profile because I don't remember it being like looking that down. I remember it rolling down, but rolling, like you're constant. One thing that I love about Boston is that all of the muscles are being used in your legs. You're not just getting in this one rhythm and like your hamstrings or your quads aren't doing all the work. And that's what I liked about it. And this looks like it's straight downhill and it is, but it's not.
Right. There's these little rises there and you're like, shoot, what's going on here? But I think even like running course tours and stuff, that first, I came out here right after New York half, like the next day. And, you're beat up from the race and you're like, I got to recover. And I got at the start and did the first 14. And I was like, this feels so easy. Like, because it's just carrying you down, And so I think it's really easy to get carried away. And you just have to be really patient and remind yourself it's a long day. I think things you can work on in those first 3 to 6 miles, and I guess I'll just say, like, do you. If you have a race plan and all of those things, like, stick with it. Don't change anything based on what you hear tonight, but take it into mind if it's something that makes sense. But I think in the first 3 to 6 miles, what you can start working on and thinking about is nutrition. So when do you start thinking about that, and, like, what's your early fueling strategy?
It's so funny because I didn't worry about that much, but basically I was just trying to always make sure I got all my nutrition early on, right? Like, because it takes a while for it to hit your body, all that stuff. So it's more important in the earlier stages of the race than it is later. Like, you could actually miss some fueling if you wanted later in the race. So I was always just taking my time to get it all in, because sometimes later moves are happening too. And you're like, I'm just going to take a swig. I have to focus and get back in this race. But early on, you can take your time, make sure you get all your bottles in. If you guys are grabbing off the course, really take advantage of that early on. Especially, I think the weather's going to be great, but it does get warmer as the race goes on. So you want to make sure you're hydrated and getting nutrition.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from my ASU days, what we would say is drink early and drink often. That's a great fueling tip. Go Devils.
I'm glad that worked out for you.
Yeah. So that's a great strategy too. If you want to have some fun out there and feel like you're partying, drink early, drink often, and you're also doing great nutrition planning ahead. So.
You know what else stood out to me in the early parts of Boston were the tangents.
Yes.
And I think it was shocking to me all 3 times I ran it. And even now when I watch it, seeing people stay in the lead, like staying in their pack instead of running the tangent. I actually was talking to one of the men about it today. Like, when is it worth staying in the pack? When is it not? But there are a lot of tangents in that early part of the race. And you don't need, I feel like whenever I see you run Boston, it's like the pack of women and then Des is like way over here. But but it's like, she's not going to run 10 extra meters right there and 20 there and 10 there and 5 there and add it up to something that matters, that's measurable and significant.
Has anybody in the first row run Boston before? How easy is it to run the tangents if you're in the main group? Kind of crowded. Okay, well, I'll keep that advice, Kara. Thanks.
Oh, wow. I wasn't trying to be an elitist, but thanks for making me one.
If you can get to the tangents, do it. But there's moments where it's hard and
there's people in your way.
Yeah.
But if you can, do it.
Yeah. All right, so you get past 6 miles. That's the second fueling station for us. And it kind of flattens out there. I mean, like, there's things going on here and there. What are you thinking about from that point to, let's say, 10, 11? I mean, you get a nice climb a little bit past 9 there. What's the mindset? Like, are you thinking ahead? What are you thinking about with the pack? What are you thinking about with pacing? What's going on?
I mean, I was just trying to stay calm. I do think people start to get antsy because they're like, we're not moving yet, or we're not hitting a certain pace yet, or we've been running downhill and we're not as fast as I thought we were going to be. But I think those are like crucial miles to just stay calm because the work is yet to come.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty great way to summarize that. It's really a lot of patience on this course, and I think if you did go out too hard, you're not like backing off trying to, make it up, and that's like by slowing down. It's just get right back on your rhythm, figure out your pace, and that's a good place to, just lock in and figure out what feels like the right effort, because it's pretty steady in that area. All right, so you come down that big hill at 11, you're getting towards the 20K mark, and then Wellesley. What do you remember about Wellesley?
So loud. Very loud. Lots of screaming, right? I remember everyone being like, it's going to amaze you. And I was like, pfft. And then when I was running by, I was like, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
They weren't lying. These people are crazy.
Right. Leading into it, like you have, like every 3 miles or so, you get these big crowds because it's like going into the new town, and like there's energy, and there's water stops, and it's kind of like chaos, and then it regroups and quiets down. Leading into Wellesley is like almost a nice peaceful part where you can kind of regroup and you feel like you're in the woods, and it's like, okay, like I'm just doing my thing, Sunday long run, this is great. And then they'll say, you hear it before you see it. And that's totally true. That's always how I remember it.
I always wonder, like some of the other athletes that don't know about it. And just like you said, there's that quiet part right before that. And then all of a sudden it's this wall of noise. They must be like, what the hell is going on here? It doesn't last forever, but yeah, it is very loud.
Yeah, and then you kind of go into another sort of moment of solitude and you hit the halfway point. So it's an interesting, like you can get an interesting surge there. You can get a little bit of a second wind if you're in a kind of a slump, like regroup energy-wise. And then you head into the second half. 13 to 15, anything interesting going on? Anything you remember from there?
I think people are just kind of worrying about what's to come.
Yeah.
I really loved 16 on, so I wasn't worried. But I think people are just, that's a time to like recoup a little bit. Like the hard work is about to come. And some people would try to make a move there, but I think most people are like getting ready for the workload. What about you?
I always remember the big overpass.
Yes.
There's a water station right there, and like someone always drops a monster move, and you're like trying to get your bottle and you're trying to take your fluids and they're like trying to cover a move. And that's one of those things that if you can't take it there on the hill, like take it earlier and plan ahead, or take it after in that little, like that downhill stretch or before the right-hand turn. But yeah, you don't want to totally skimp on it, because that's still, it's deep in the race enough that you need to be fueling. But it's a tough place to do it. I always remember that.
Yeah. What do you think about the climbs? Do you like them?
I don't like that first one. That's like my least favorite. And I think it mostly has to do with the water stop. So there is like the philosophy, or not the philosophy, but the tactic of like, if you can't drink the nutrition, because like say you have an upset stomach or something like that, you can swish it around and just spit it out. And like your brain will take that as I'm getting nutrition and there's carb drinking. So there's something to that versus just skipping it. Mm-hmm. And I always strategically kind of use that there because I'm like, I hate this section. Yeah. But I know like there's a huge downhill on the other side. Mm-hmm. And then on my course tour this time around, like I really noticed ways to break it up. Like, okay, because I always just think of it as this really long, grindy climb. And I'm like, oh, I always get dropped here. This is so hard. And I was like, oh, like this is a natural break. And this next section is here. And then there's a third section there. So I think I'm going to try to keep that in mind on Monday.
Yeah. I really liked this part because you burned off a few people on the up part. And then you had this nice recovery before you had to climb again. And it really broke it up so it didn't feel so overwhelming. It was like, okay, I conquered that hill. Now I get a little break. I get to chill. I get to regather. Now I'm going to climb again. And also, this is where you start like getting to like really neighborhood feel. So it just felt less intimidating. Like a lot of us do our long runs on Sundays and we're running through neighborhoods, and it just made it feel like, I don't know, just less intimidating. All of the, kids outside their houses and families that have been there forever. And I loved that part. That's my favorite part of the course.
That's an unlock there. I did not know that. It was a good.
If it could just end at 21, right, it would have been perfect for me.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, I like getting into the Newton Hills. I think I look forward to that. Just a change of pace for the muscle groups. I think people get to the hills and they're like, oh no, the big climb. It's like it's a nice relief from the hammering the quads and the downhill. And you're right. Like every single uphill, every one of there's 3 actually after the right-hand turn, but the 4 Newton Hills, if you count the one just prior, they all have good recovery on the other side of it. So when you're, getting towards the top, lean into it and know that recovery is on the other side. And if you're feeling really good, like if you're having the day, work the downhill. Like that's where you can really make up some time and like catch people and do some damage if you're having that type of day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are we now? We're like at mile 21-ish.
Yeah. What do you think about Heartbreak? Live up to the hype? Did you like the crowds there? What do you think about that last hill? Any good memories?
I read about the Boston Marathon for years before I ran it, and I heard about Heartbreak, and I just imagined it was going to be like a mountain. And then I came out here to do the course preview, and I was like, what? It's not that bad. Yeah, I mean, of course it's hard and you've been running for a long time, but it's not that bad. And then I learned that it's really called Heartbreak, not because it's so hard, but because who got past there? Johnny Kelly. Thank you. And then I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, yeah, that would break your heart, but it's not, it's hard. I'm not saying like, oh, you're good luck on Monday. It's not even a hard run. Yeah. But the hype, and I had heard about it since I was a child. Right. And then I was like, this is not that bad. It's not that bad. Team, you got this. You got this.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good crowds up there too. People are stoked. And then it's all downhill from there. What does that mean? Like, what does that mean for you on that day? Sometimes it's like, yes, we're ripping home. And sometimes you're like, it's all downhill.
Yeah.
I know.
You know, it's funny seeing this profile because I don't remember it feeling that downhillish. And I think that's when you have to really think about how you're going to play your cards throughout the race, because if you play them early, you're not going to be able to feel that fun downhill, right? You have to keep some, like when I think about Des Linden, I think about a different last name. But anyway, and I think about 2011 where you started racing there. And I had like worn myself out covering all the moves early on. There's a whole, there's 5 important miles at the end where you still have to race. And yes, it is slightly downhill, but there's still little uphills here and there. And now you are on tired legs. I mean, it doesn't matter how smart you've played it. You've gone down, you've gone up, the quads, the hamstrings, everything they're a little jello-y, right? But you still have to do that to get to the finish. So I actually think this is, obviously the latter stages of any marathon is the hardest, but I think this is one of the most difficult last 5 miles of a marathon of any marathon I've run.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot like the Newton Hills where you're not like, oh, that hill was crazy hard. It's like, well, it's the series of 4 that kick your ass, right?
Right. It's not that
all
one.
All of it. And so that's this 21 mile point on. If you're having a day and if you've been smart, like you can go to work and you can just really lean into it. You don't have to worry about the splits. Whatever your watch says, you don't have to go, oh, well, that's too fast. Like you just put your nose in it and go. Yeah, I remember looking at race results and being like, oh, if I can run 33:20 for the last 10K, that almost always wins it, which is crazy.
Can I tell you something? You said that in an interview afterwards, and it blew my mind because my race strategy was always just win. Yeah. I never thought about times. I never thought about pace. And I remember you said that, and it blew my mind that you were thinking about, like you were calculating, how do I win this? Instead of just like being like, I'll step up to anyone. Let's go. Yeah. Let me go run your race. So anyway, just a side note, that's always stood out to me. Funny. You said that in 2011 in an interview after, and I was like, what? She knew what it was going to take to win? I was just like, no, let's just do it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's different strategies. You also had like a lot of other tools that I didn't have, where you could sit and kick really well and just incredible track speed that I was like, no, I got to make it a 10K on 20 miles of really hard running. That's my best strategy.
It was pretty good strategy for you.
Yeah, well, beat everyone but one that year. I think I was 33:21 or something. Break your heart. Yeah, but you can get, point being, all that to say, you can get rip in there and you can really go racing if you have your legs under you. So patience early. When you talk about the first 6, if you do those too hard, this is all downhill.
And should we talk about the very ending?
Well, how far? Can we talk about the Sitco sign?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
When people say Sitco, you see it with 1 mile to go. How does that make you feel? What do you think about that?
I feel like they're lying.
Thank you. Okay.
And I heard that my whole life. They'd be like, you hit Sitco and there's a mile to go. And I'm like, in what world?
Right. It's like at Las Vegas. So like, yeah, you just need to get down to the Statue of Liberty. I'm like, oh, that's like 1 block. I can see it. And then it just like stays the same size.
Yeah, that's kind of a mean myth. It's like an urban myth.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. I just wanted to know how you felt about that because I feel validated.
Yeah, you see that puppy for a while and a lot more than a mile to go.
So don't get too excited when you see Sitco and you're like, oh, 1 mile to go.
Sorry, unlearn all those things you've been told your whole life.
Yeah.
They're lies.
Yeah. But to the end now?
Yeah, I think I remember the first time I ran it. I had previewed the course. I fell in love with the course. I never for a moment thought Hereford would be hard. And I was in a pack with 3 women and I was leading as we turned onto Hereford and I got dropped going up Hereford. And I remember thinking, when did this freaking Mount Hereford? Where did this come from?
Yeah.
I just thought it was going to be like a little when I previewed it, it didn't even cross my mind as something to keep in mind. And I just remember being like, yeah. So I'm not trying to scare you all first timers, but it definitely hits different when you have 25 plus miles in your legs.
Yeah, you could do a little finish preview, like when you're out walking around and checking out all the activations, go up Hereford and like be like, okay, yeah, this is not that bad, but like really evaluate it and then come back on Monday and see what you think if it matches up. I think that's a fun exercise. At the underpass too, like you could come down and you do the underpass. I remember looking at that mile and being like, oh, that's where I lost the race. Like I got too slow there and like wanted to recover, but that's a punchy hill. Mm-hmm. So you have that, and then you have Hereford. Then you make your left onto the most iconic finish stretch in all of marathoning. What's that like?
If you guys anyone was here last year, I cried about this, I'm pretty sure, but it's pretty magical. Like even if it's not going the way you want, the crowds are so deep. I mean, the crowds are so deep, I would say 6 miles to go, like so deep. And people are just so invested in what you're doing. And like, I remember in 2009, I started to slip back and it was like so much noise of support and like willing me to somehow catch these people that I was falling behind. It was amazing and awful at the same time. Right. But I came back and did it 2 more times in the same exact level of support, even though I wasn't in the race in those final moments. The other 2 times I came back, I think I was 5th and 6th. And so it's unbelievable. And it's just so much excitement for every runner that comes down, and it's constant. And the last few years I've been lucky enough to like stay and watch regular folks come in, and it's the same volume and it's the same excitement. There's really nothing else like it.
Have you ever sat on the photo bridge? Do you do any race calls up there or take photos up there? Have you been up there?
I was up there once that's a story I'll tell you another time, but I was up there once to just do a quick hit on the broadcast.
Yeah, we're going to have to chat about that. I think that is probably one of the greatest seats in sports, like all sports. If you sit up there in the middle of the day, when the masses are coming through, it's just like the way you describe it. I mean, it's magical. It's a really cool spot to see it from. But finish line tickets on the sides are, I'm sure those are great too. No, I think the stands anywhere on Boylston, like that's just, it's special.
And you can just see it on the athletes' faces, right? Like whether you're trying to win it or it's your first Boston, or it's just like you see so much emotion from everybody running in. It's just a cool place to be.
Any practical advice for the last stretch? You're making your left-hand turn. You're heading on to Boylston. First timers or old pros, what's the advice you give them?
I would kind of say 2 things, like no regrets. Like you're almost there. So just whatever your body is telling you about how awful you feel, ignore it because you're almost done. But then also to soak it in, because really, I mean, I've run at the Olympic Games. I've run at the World Championships. It's just different. It's so long. I've run at New York and I love New York, but there's something about Boston with how long that finish straight is and how deep the crowds are. Like really absorb it because it's something you can't get anywhere else in your life in the world. It's awesome.
Yeah.
What about you? Someone who's gotten to break the tape.
Yeah. I mean, I think breaking the tape, finishing second, having terrible days here, all of them, like it doesn't really matter. It's still like that stretch is so special. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. All right, so you finish, you break the tape, or you set your PR, or maybe you don't have the day you want, but you cross the finish line. You get back to your hotel, and then what are you doing in the next like couple hours? Is there any more athlete in you, or are you just like, nah, let's hit mile 27?
Yeah, mile 27 all the way. No, I mean, I would be all in. Like, I'm sure so many of you are all in on each marathon that I did. I only did twice a year. I was all in. It's all I thought about. And there would be like, obviously, like elation if it went well, or a grieving period if it didn't. And then it was like, let's go drink, let's go eat, let's go do all the things. Because now I'm
Let's go to the mile 27 party and crack a beer and smash it on our forehead.
Yes,
this
absolutely.
Is a terrible app.
Yeah, it was time to just celebrate with my family, and like the people who supported me, and to just, I don't know, have fun. Like, it's so much work to run a marathon. It is so much work. And you guys know people with full-time jobs and all this, like it is so much work to prepare for something like this. And so whether it goes great or whether it goes bad, like you deserve to celebrate all the hard work you put into it and everything that you felt. And I think it's really important for people to do that. I mean, I know you'll be.
The chat says I have to. It's part of my identity.
Yeah, I mean, talk us through, like, obviously if you do well, then you go to media and there's drug testing. But when it gets quiet, right? Like when you're done with all of the interviews, what does Des Linden do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a weird thing, but like the shower after is the best feeling. And it's like, one, just like getting all the gross off because you're sticky and you're like, oh, that chafed, and just like figuring it all out.
You might be screaming.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, it's also, it's like the first time you get to be alone and like process. And for me, that's like this like strange moment where I'm like, okay, like I get to just think about this, like what just happened and how I really feel about it. So there's that, which is really great. And then it's like, okay, evaluate my belly. Like, what's it going to let me do? You know, like, what do I want to do, but what is it going to let me do? And then, like, how do we prioritize what's going to happen next? So people are like, hey, do you want a bourbon? I'm like, that's not going to go into my stomach right now. So it's figuring that out, getting some food in. Yeah, I do think that if you're planning on racing again or not, or whatever it may be, like, if you can grab something in that long, like, finishing shoot and just, like, have a snack or any, like, a protein drink or something that you can, like, start recovery, that's a great step. And like I always think of that as like be an athlete for a few more minutes, and then regroup from there and enjoy the evening with friends, family, community. Like I just think this race is so special. Like I know I'm kind of joking about the mile 27 emceeing because last year was like so wild, and I was like, they're never inviting us back. And you were like, I can't
get invited back.
You were gone. They were like, she can't make it.
I can't. That's true.
But that's fun to just go and like hang out with people who are celebrating their big day. And it just shows like how you can appreciate what everyone's done across the board, whether it's good day or bad day. It's just a really fun event for the community.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Are you guys going to go out and hear Des at mile 27?
Might crack a beer on my forehead. Who knows?
Or 3.
I think the cups are plastic, so that's good. All right, so we've gone through the course. We've gone through the mile 27. You want to open it up for questions, or do you have any final thoughts?
No,
okay,
I don't.
Great.
We want to know what you guys want to know. Do you guys have any questions for us?
No. All right, wrap it up. It's been fun. Also, there is there's a chat, I think, for folks on if you're watching online and you want to
We have a hand over here. We do have someone.
I wanted to know if the dogs are in Boston with you.
She wants to know if the dogs are in Boston with us, and I'm asking that because when we don't get the questions on the audio, people get very angry. So the dogs are not. We thought about it, and it was a little bit too much work. But Mr. Rivers has gotten really strong, and not a lot of people can take care of him. So he's at, we call it his country club. It's the kennel. I wish they were here.
Oh, someone asked about my mom. She's doing okay. Thank you for asking. She's doing fine. She just still has some physical limitations, but she's doing really well. Thank you.
I have a question and a mic. Hi. Kara, I actually want to say, one, thank you for the way you share about commentating. I feel like it's something that comes up as like side stories in the pod a lot, but I get to commentate racing, not for running, but for rowing. And you're actually a huge resource for that. And like learning about your approach and the way that you try to implement storytelling into sports that aren't appreciated, especially from another niche sport. But I'm curious, when it comes to races where you have such close friendships, intimate relationships with the runners, how do you approach it? Because you want to storytell and you want to get people involved, but God forbid you tell a story that does what it want, right? So what's that like for you?
I'm not worried about her so much. Yeah, it's funny. I was at the press conference today and talking with the athletes, and I have friendships with a lot of them, or just a different sort of relationship. And so it's, you just want to keep it professional, right? So like people will tell me stuff that I wouldn't say on air, but it also lets me know who they are. And then it kind of makes me want to hype them more when I know they've been struggling with something or whatever. I just think I am a fan of like really everyone that's running, you know, like I hardly got to, I think I talked to like 8 athletes today, and the time went by so quick. I could have talked to all of them. It's just really fun to hear their stories. They're all so significant. They're all different. One of the challenges is that we have a camera that sticks with the leaders. And so there's so many stories to tell, but they aren't told, you know? And maybe Des and I someday will do something about that. We'll do some sort of production where we talk about everybody, no matter where they are. But I just really enjoy it. And I just always think, how would I want someone to talk about me in a way that tells who I am and it's respectful? Like, you can say I have weaknesses in my race while still being respectful, just like you can say what my strengths are. So I just try to think about how would I want to be talked about.
Des. So you've run this race 17 times already? Is that right?
This will be 12.
12.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
12.
you.
Well, probably feels like 17. Same thing.
Feels like.
Okay. So do you have the same race plan every time you run Boston, or does it change every time you do it?
Yeah, it's quite different every time. It depends how the training goes. It depends what my strengths and weaknesses are. It depends on who the field is and how my fitness matches up with them and what my goals are for the day. So it's a lot of moving pieces. The beauty of it is the course doesn't change. So if I find myself in a position where it's like me versus me, I can attack the course with all of those tools. And so, yeah, it's you just have to be flexible and adaptable. And sometimes it's in real time. You know, you have a plan, and like in 2011, it was like, I'm going to be in the mix for a long time. And, you know, like the photo came out and looked like I missed the start. I was like, oh, I guess I'm running alone today. And then it was just like pivot and relax and stay comfortable and reset. So even when like I write race plans like out on paper and, you know, have it later, but it's all things that are within your control. It can't be like stay with this one person or like cover all these moves, because you just don't know what's going to happen out there. So it's very individualized and just made to make sure I get the most out of myself.
So my voice sounds really weird on that. How do you deal with like after a race when it goes bad? Like, is it just like, I'm quitting, guys, I'm working at a grocery store?
Never happened.
I love that. Yes, I've always wanted to work at a grocery store. My husband is here tonight, and he knows like I get irate with how people package my groceries. And so anyway, I should, maybe that's my next career, is like bagging things correctly. Why would you put the eggs on the bottom? Anyway, I think I don't care how long your career is or how good you are, you're going to have a bad day. And I think it's unhealthy if you're like, I'm not going to let that bother me. It's fine. Because you put so much into it and you wanted it so badly. Like, I used to think I would just be devastated after races, but I think I ran well because it mattered that much. Like, it had to be the risk of it being devastated for me to get the most out of myself. And I was devastated more than I was happy. But that's how it is. And I would cry. I mean, my husband's here. How many times did I cry in a hotel room and then kind of pick myself up and let the next few days go by? What did you say? Every time. I cried even when I was happy. I'm a crier. And then I pick myself up and set my sights on something else. But I think it's totally normal to be upset, and it's totally okay to, you know, you're kind of grieving a loss. And even when it goes well, I think sometimes you can find yourself a little sad in the days after because you've worked so hard for something and now it's over.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very, very valid. And to just pretend like it didn't matter would be strange. But I also feel like you do need to give yourself a deadline. Like, you can't be sad forever. You can be emotional and sad and upset for a while and like figure out how long is comfortable for you and what makes sense. But then also there's probably a ton of lessons in there as well. So then like start being strategic and pragmatic and curious about what could be changed and what can help you so that you don't feel like that the next time, or what could you pick out from those things that went wrong that are going to make you better. And then eventually just earlier rather than later shift it to an opportunity to learn.
Hi, I have a question for Des. Do you have like a goal time for Monday, or are you just kind of feeling it? Whatever happens.
No, that's a great question. I think I'm in pretty good shape, and I think the last couple years I've felt like, I can run a 2:26, 2:25. I feel like I'm in that type of fitness and I either need to do it or not, like take the risks out there, go all in and just like see if I got it in me. So I feel like I've positioned myself to be in a good spot to try to run 2:26. And if it's a great day, maybe even a little quicker. But I think the way I'm approaching it, I could very well blow up and run 2:40. So we'll see. It's like one of those things where you risk it and see what happens.
This is for Des. 2018 was an incredible year, not only for you, but for anyone else who ran that year. Just surviving the race was incredible. My question is about that race. I've always heard that Shalala had to use the porta potty, and you waited for her and brought her back. So what does waiting mean? And did you just make that decision in the moment? How really could you be that generous at that point?
I have to jump in right here really quick because this story is true and it's accurate and it happened. And also Des pretends like she doesn't care, but she's actually nice. I'm sorry, I'm selling you out, but you're actually nice. Like, I wouldn't wait for Shalane to be like, sorry.
I mean, it was just a really unique year. She was also coming off that New York win, and I think we all knew how much Boston meant to her. I didn't feel like it was going to be my year, and I felt like I was already ready to tap out at any moment. And early on, I told her that. I was like, hey, if you need help with anything, let me know. I can block wind or pace or whatever. It was shorter than that, but we had a little conversation. And then about the halfway point, she was like, hey, I need to use the restroom. Do you think I should use it? Which is a strange conversation. It was like, those things normally don't get better, so I would do it sooner rather than later, personally. I've never had that, go away. I don't know. So, and I told her, I'll go to the front and slow it down for you. So that was my intention. I was like, I'll just get to the front of the race and, make it a jog because people don't want to lead and they'll just tuck in behind me. So she shoots off and obviously a couple athletes saw her and were like, oh, peace, let's go. Now's the time. Which strategically made no sense. It was still windy. It was still a major headwind and cold, and it was a long way out. But I felt terrible. I was like, this looks like the exact opposite of what I told her I would do. So I kind of slowed up, and it wasn't that I waited for her and stopped and stood there. But a really great way to cover moves in a race is to cover half of them, right? You want to get a little jump so it doesn't get too far strung out from you. And so basically I became a halfway target between where she was, myself, and then the group. And so she covered half by running to me, and then together we worked together for a little bit to catch it back up to the group. And so it was just more efficient. And honestly, it never made sense for the group to make that aggressive push into the wind. It was just too far out. And I think you saw it damage Momitu Daska, who was the one who really made that move probably the most. When we passed her, it was I don't know if she could still be out there. We're not sure. I'm not that nice.
You just ruined my whole speech.
She made it back.
So we have the crowds here, but our road conditions are pretty poor. At your pace and at the elite level, is that ever an issue? Is you're just blazing that the divots and the potholes don't really matter, and the folks in the back are yelling, "Hole!" doesn't really happen up front?
You get some people that'll point. If you're in the pack, right? That'll point down and let you know. I was the type of athlete that would run at the back of the lead pack, so I couldn't always see. And you get people that point. I think that's part of the challenge, though. I know we don't want to bust our ankles out there or anything like that, but I think that's part of what's baked into the challenge, right? Is that nothing is really perfect here, but that's what makes it so meaningful. Except for the people, of course. But yeah, I know Des had some thoughts about the potholes earlier today.
You run the course tour and it's way worse, and right, because the snow is just melted and there's still all the trash that was in the snowbanks, and you're like, oh man, this is a mess. You know exactly what I'm talking about, that season where it's just gritty. And I like, that's when I do the course tour. And then I'm like, I come back and I'm always like, oh, they've patched it up. Like, good job. So it feels good to me. But I think New York is one where you like really have to be aware. And I always think of New York, like the course is hard, but also it's like cross country. I always describe it as cross country. It's like, it's rugged out there.
I can't imagine running New York in super shoes because the surface is already so uneven and then it's
you're
just throwing you all
stabilizing.
over. Yeah. But I'm old, so I never did that.
This is for both of you. Do you have a race where you could say it's your best race ever or your favorite race ever? Anything that stands out specifically? For Des, maybe Boston, but it could be something else, like setting a 50K world record or something.
I mean, 2018 Boston. I think it's obviously winning here meant a ton, but I was talking about it earlier today, and it was like coming back and learning all these different things. And like, I was describing it like the Masters, where Rory is trying to get, the Triple Crown or like the series or whatever, I don't know the number is, right? So like people go, oh, like he was so close. He messed it up on like the 12th hole, or he just needs to fix that and he's good. It's like, that's not how it works. Like you come back and you start at 0 every time. So in 2011, it was 2 seconds and you're like, okay, like, well, you just got to clean up 2 seconds and you're there, you're ready. And it's like, no, that's not it. You come back every year and it's a different field and it gets better and people get faster and you get older and yada, yada. And so I kept coming back, but it felt like it was getting further and further away. But each time, like, I picked up a new skill and a new tool and a new learning. And in 2018, it was like I got to use every single thing that I had acquired along the way. And because of that, it just felt so much more special. It was like, this is all the years of hard work, all the heartbreak when you're in the hotel crying, and all of those moments like being rewarded. And it was the strangest way, and I could have given up like a million times, and I didn't. And I got to use every one of those tools, and that made it just magical.
Well, who wants to go after that? It's like, wah, wah. Probably like outwardly, the race I'm most proud of is winning a medal at the World Championships because it was a big moment for American distance running. But the race that I'm most proud of is a race with Des, the 2012 Olympic Marathon Trials. I had a pretty bad femoral stress fracture leading into that. And I was not fit enough to make the team. I had no business making that team. And I'm just I'll always be really proud of how I managed it and kind of lied to people about my fitness and ran my way onto the team and got to be teammates with her. I know. Okay.
All right. I think but we should probably just skip a top 5 tonight. I feel like we're pretty good.
I feel like when you say it like that, they're going to be like, no, we want a top 5.
All right. We got to rattle through them, though. Let's
Okay,
go
yeah,
quick.
yeah, yeah.
'Cause-
Yeah.
You want to start?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm going to start because I'm just going to embarrass 2 people here. My husband and my son are here, Adam and Colt. And I'm super excited. Colt's like, I've never been to Boston. I'm like, dude, you've been twice. You just don't remember. You were there in 2011 and in 2013. And so I'm really excited to have them both here. Adam's athlete is running and Colt's running the 5K tomorrow. And if they just wave, they're going to spend the weekend with me.
Love it. I'm going to go with the Brooks Hyperion House on Newbury. Ton of fun activations going on over there. I haven't even seen it yet, but I've heard it's cool. That's where I'm headed to later tonight for a thing, so I'll check it out. But I think it's closed right now. But check it out. It's a great spot. It's a really great location if you're at the 5Ks tomorrow, and swing in and see what's going on.
I really don't have another one.
Come on, Sarah.
God. I'm going to go with, yesterday I got to run with some high school kids. And I know that you think they're sometimes scary, but they were so great. I love that age. I love running with high school kids. I love having them ask me questions about, like the girls ask very different questions than the boys, which is totally fine. Boys want to know about training and girls want to know about like body changes. And I just really love that age group. I feel like if you have a good youth experience, it can just set you up for life because when it gets difficult, you have a real reason why you fell in love with it and why you stayed with it. So I had a really good time yesterday running with them.
All right, I'm going to go with the Boston Marathon finish line. The structure's up, the lights are on. It's just a cool feeling to see that. And you guys have done so much hard work. You get to run one of the greatest marathons in the world, and it's looking good. You can tell by the finish line.
Okay, well, the last one we'll do together.
Okay.
Are we on the same wavelength? Nope.
Go for it, and I'll just nod.
Okay. Well, I just thought this is a super easy one. It's all of you guys for coming out and supporting us.
It's so funny. I was going to say WBUR for having us, and you for filling their lovely space.
Well, there you go. See, we were on the same wavelength. We were going to get there.
Yeah.
But legitimately, thank you to everyone who supports us. It means so much to us. We love hanging out. And
Sometimes.
to do it most of the time.
Yeah.
And to be able to do it in a live audience is really fun. And yeah, Chris is here. Chris, wave. He is the person who made this whole pod happen. So we just appreciate all of you, including Chris, for supporting us and making this a thing.
Thank you, guys.